he did one little thing that was bad, and it's like, yeah, but that's a pretty big thing. It's a pretty
I
big
don't
thing.
know. No, no, that's terrible. Number one, he's not the GOAT. Number two, he did way more than one thing.
He
Number
was.
three, that is one of your worst analogies of all time. Like,
No, no, it's not.
that is a terrible
Hold on,
analogy.
talking about. R. Kelly was so good that we knew he was doing messed up stuff, and we didn't even care. We said, you know what, these songs are so amazing. We're gonna stick
Next
to.
subject. Next subject. Next subject.
I'm just saying. And
Next
then we
subject.
found out, and then
Next
we found out
subject. For the love
they were
of
doing
God.
more stuff. And then it was like, okay, well, you know
Oh,
what, our
why is this still
Robert,
mute
you're
yourself?
done.
Mute yourself. I'm not entertaining this. Ugh.
We said we can't do this
Next,
anymore.
next, next. Just we need a Brett's Titanic mistake.
My brother's been calling me a fraud all weekend because I wasn't rooting for Lamar. I'm like, bro, he plays for the Ravens. What do you want? Like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, what do you want me to do? Because the Steelers over the culture. I said, bro, we've had black quarterbacks before. Like, he's not the first. He's not going to be the last. Like, I'm confused. Uh,
We've had multiple black quarterbacks win the Super Bowl like in the last 10
right.
years.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, this isn't like historic. Like we like
No, no, your brother is number one, he's too Gen Z. And number three, like, lay off the weed, bro. Like what this is for civil rights. Woo!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's another great day to discuss other people's excellence. I'm the Uncle Brother One himself, Mr. Brett Carroll. Charles is always daydreaming. We're two guys like BSN at work. All right, we're back with another football pod. We haven't really done this in a while,
Been
and
too long, bro.
we got a lot to talk about. As you see from the title, we lost some legends. Like we this out of nowhere eras have just been over with. So we're gonna start with that. And then we're gonna get into like the football stuff. I don't have a slide for this. I'm gonna say this real quick. As of this recording, breaking news: Steelers hire Arthur Smith. My initial reaction is I'm kind of pissed. I feel like they trolled us. They were talking a lot of shit about going outside the box and doing all this stuff. And they had all these great interviews with all these great candidates, and we were all excited. And I feel like they kind of just snuck Arthur Smith in there.
Who the fuck is Arthur Smith? Can you like you say you're saying a generic ass name? Like,
You don't know who Arthur Smith is? Oh, okay. I'm
I swear
sorry.
to God.
Arthur Smith is he was the head coach for the Falcons. He just got fired. He was also
Oh,
he
I just thought it was another dude named Arthur Smith.
no,
I
no,
didn't
no.
know it was
And
that dude.
he was the offensive coordinator for the Tennessee Titans. I was going to get into that. Um, He's a safe hire. He's a safe hire. It's one of those names that we thought the Steelers would probably do. And again, I think we're just more frustrated because I feel like they were just messing with us. Like either two things happened. Either they were trolling us the whole time and they were interviewing all these young Rams and Niners and Dolphins and Houston assistants just to show that they were willing to do it when they knew that they were this type of hire they were going to make the whole time, or they gave it a real try and they're just so stuck in their ways that they just couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like it's like me with my diet. Right? I'll try a salad. I'll mix in some fruits and veggies. I'll do all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna come back to the burgers and fries. Right? That's just who I am. Right? That it's one of those two things. So my initial reaction, I'm a little upset about that and I'm a little pissed off about that and I feel a little betrayed about that because we really need to get some innovation in here. But as I've calmed down a little bit, I do get it. Arthur Smith is somebody, his philosophy fits what the Steelers want to do, and we do have the personnel where it could work. I'm willing to give it a chance. I think it's a solid hire. I'll give it like a B. I'll give it like a solid B minus. Um, But yeah, that's my initial thoughts on it. If you're Najee Harris, you should be happy. If you're Jalen Warren, you should be happy. If you're George Pickens, you should be happy. Like the way he utilizes AJ Brown and stuff like that, that's the type of way I see him utilizing George Pickens. If you're Kenny Pickett, you should be happy. Ryan Tannehill's best years were with Arthur Smith as his offensive coordinator. They were the number one seed in the conference that year. Uh, so it's not a bad hire. It's just the safe one. And I think Steeler fans like, bro, stop doing this. Like this is what you keep doing. I think it's time to you acknowledge that it's you got to do something different. So that's just my initial reaction. I think it's a solid high. Like I
I think
said,
the safe
B.
hire is good though. You guys had no business being in the playoffs this year, which indicates it really was just Matt Canada being that trash. Uh, and that you because as easy as me saying you guys snuck in because these three teams underperformed, I can make that argument. Okay, that means the Steelers are underperformed in this sense because if they could be overperforming and underperforming, it's a game to game thing. As we know, I feel like me and you have reviewed the Matt Canada problem enough that I feel like they're just saying all we need to do is fix the offense. We fix the offense. Bada bing, bada boom.
Well, yeah, listen, it's one of those things where Matt Canada was without, and I hate to say this, he was without question the worst offense coordinator I've ever seen in my life. And so whoever they hired, I don't care if it was you or me, would have been an upgrade over Matt Canada. So in that sense, like they couldn't go wrong in that sense. I just think, like I said, I think Steelers fans are just upset because they were talking a big game. Oh, we're gonna go outside. We're not gonna hire from within. We're not gonna. We got to try to be different. So they were talking all this good game, and all the candidates that they were bringing in, like the names you were hearing, it was like, oh my god, like we're not the every time the next name was better than the one before, and it was like, oh my goodness. And then the one guy that they kind of snuck in there that was kind of like a old school Steelers guy, he gets the job, and they just snuck him in there over the weekend. And I'm like, okay, so again, were you trolling us the whole time, knowing that this is what you were gonna do, or did you really try it, but you're so stuck in your ways you just couldn't do it. You just couldn't.
I think it's the latter one because they're the Steelers. They could literally just interview the one person for the Rooney Rule and pick their guy, and they got everyone's benefit of the doubt. So I feel like it's the latter. Just as you know, an objective outside party, it sounds like they really did interview these other folks, and they just like the guy that happens to be from the inside. The Giants do it all the time. Most teams do it. We shouldn't narrow it down to this old money owners that we have because every team does this. And at least in our cases, we have a little bit more success at it. The only thing that is different in my case is the Giants are kind of intertwined with that terrible Belichick tree. So you know what I mean? But like as a Giants fan, it's the Parcells tree. So it's but anyway, I feel like it's just we'll see how it is. If your offense is still garbage next year, it's going to look a lot worse.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't think we're going to be guard. I think we're going to be better. It's can we win a Super Bowl, right? That's the big thing. And the one good thing is, and one of the reasons why they might have done it is Mike Munchak comes with Arthur Smith. If you don't know who Mike Munchak is, he is the greatest offensive line coach in the NFL. He's one of, if not the greatest offensive line coach ever. When we had our amazing offensive line, he was our offensive line coach. So I get it. The run. Listen, if you're, I think you have Najee Harris, right? You might want to keep him. Najee's gonna be balling next year. Like if you are an old school, I want to run the football again. Derrick Henry's best years were with Arthur Smith as his offense coordinator. Let's just put it like that. He's old.
All right, let's get to the real hires and the relevant teams.
So yeah, so that's just my initial thought process on it. I hope it works out, but again, I'm just a little disappointed. All right. So we had the perfect playoff. The college football players were awesome this year with two down to the wire semifinal matches in the entertaining championship game. Florida State proved why they didn't belong, and the committee proved that they got it right for once. Well, this part is all is irrelevant, as you could tell. We made this way before. Congratulations, Jim Harbaugh! Not only did you win the national championship, but now you are the coach of the Los Angeles Chargers. Good for you. I think that's a good hire for him. I think it's good for him. Like he's been in rumored to go to the NFL for the last like what 3-4 years now. It was kind of getting
The
nauseating.
entire time since he's been gone, essentially.
Yeah, like every summer it was like, oh, is he coming back? Is he coming back? And good for him. He stuck it out. He won a championship, and he's like, all right, mission fulfilled. I'm gonna go back, and he got a good gig. You
Uh,
get Justin Herbert, like you
I
get
think I
that's
think this is, and I could eat crow on this. Me and you have notoriously bad predictions when it comes to the AFC West. Let me just say that before what I'm about to say.
to be
I'm
fair, everybody.
acknowledging my terrible track record with predictions in regard to the AFC West. I think this is terrible. Like I think this is one of those like everyone's gonna get hype. They're like, oh Harbaugh, Herbert, it's gonna be awesome, and I think this is gonna blow up sooner than later. I think Harbaugh should stay in college, maybe not at Michigan because of all the BS that I'm not super privy to. Because I really think every team cheats in one way, shape, or form. So whatever. But I just don't think. I think he's a lot more hype than he gets credit for. Period. Like I
I mean,
think
I'll give you that. I'm not saying that I think they're going to win the championship or
no,
anything.
I think he's a good college coach. I just think in regards to the NFL, his brother's the better NFL coach, and his brother. We just watched his brother get out coached, and his brother's the better one. I'm being, you know what I mean. I'm trying to be fair to him.
I mean, is it? They both went to the Super Bowl at the same time. They played each other.
Yeah, but one, has been a relevant pro football coach this entire time.
No, I get you.
Like,
Well, I guess
I'm
if
not,
you're
and I'm not taking away from Harbaugh. I'm not taking away from Harbaugh as a good coach. I'm saying though, he took the Niners to the Super Bowl. They've been back since.
true,
It wasn't Harbaugh that got him there. It was a good GM.
true. I guess my point is, I think, well, Brandon Staley was horrible. I think Jim Harbaugh is a good coach. We'll see if he's a great one. We'll see if he's good enough to get them to win the Super Bowl. Because if you're the Chargers, that's what you're trying to do. You have a franchise quarterback. You're trying desperately to consistently make the playoffs because they only made the playoff once and lost, by the way. You're trying to consistently make the playoffs in the first couple of years, and then you're trying to win a Super Bowl with this kid. Like, you have a generational quarterback. You have your franchise guy. And they're the rare team, like me and you have been struggling. They're the rare team that had their guy, and as soon as he retired, they got their other guy. And the ironic part is their guy never won the championship either, and now they're looking at Justin Herbert as the same way. So it's
I
ironic.
listen. Herbert's good, but Herbert is one of these guys that like is there's part of this is overrated. Like part of him so far in his pro career, he's just overrated. Like he's in the AFC. We heard how deep the AFC is and how look how many quarterbacks. It's a gauntlet. Why would Aaron Rodgers join the Jets? All this stuff. And you know who feels just kind of irrelevant in the AFC quarterback conversation? Justin Herbert. Just keeping it a buck. Like next year, or not even next year, in a couple weeks, in reality, right? When me and you are talking about what's next year going to look like, I feel like we'll bring up the Bengals. Just saying. I feel like that'll be part of the conversation. We're going to talk about the Ravens. We're going to talk about the Bills. The Jets didn't go away. The Dolphins are still here. I'm not worried about Herbert and the Chargers. I'm just being serious. Like if we're talking about the NFL landscape and which team am I worried about going up against, ain't nobody said, "Oh man, I really don't want to see the LA Chargers."
Well, and it's crazy because they have all the talent in the world. They should be a team you should fear. And who knows? Jim Harbaugh might be the guy to get them over the top. We'll see.
I keep hearing that Herbert has no weapons, and I keep hearing that they have all this talent. So I'm just wondering, at what point does people go, "Wait a second? If they have all this talent, maybe he's not that good, or maybe all this talent isn't that good." But both of them can't be true, because if you're just running into the worst stretch of hiring people who just can't coach good talent, like okay, so Harbaugh,
It is the Chargers. Like that's what I'm saying. It is the organization.
that's where we run into this issue. It is the Chargers, and they just hired Harbaugh, and not the one with the rings. Just saying, like we've seen nepotism hires before, and the difference between Ravens and Jim, right? Between John and Jim, is Jim has proven to be a good college head coach. Like I don't want to say great. He's won one, which I guess technically makes you great because there's so many college head coaches, and I don't want to take away from dudes in smaller divisions or HBCU, to completely different situations, because Harbaugh was a name that went to a top college and a top conference, right? But he did get the job done. So I'm not taking that away from him. I'm just saying on a pro level, it's different than college. And it's strange because he made Colin Kaepernick, right? We wouldn't have Colin Kaepernick in a football sense if it wasn't for this guy. So you could give him that credit, all the credit in the world, for seeing that talent, utilizing that talent, bringing the most out of that talent. That's what makes him a good college coach, in my opinion, is that turnover and youth and new locker room all the time. We don't know if he can keep a job like his brother. Like I'll eat crow if in 10 years the Chargers have been to 2 Super Bowls and didn't have to win them. I'm just saying, if they go to 2 Super Bowls with this guy, I'm not going to be hating like, "Oh my God, no, it's all." No, prove me wrong. I like being proved wrong. I like seeing greatness. But like, I have more faith in Antonio Pierce and the Raiders. Again, terrible track record of AFC West predictions. I have more faith in Antonio Pierce and the Raiders than I have in Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers. And
Well,
it's
that I disagree with you with.
hold on, but it's irrelevant because the Chiefs still have Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. So, like at the end of the day, this is a great conversation for who's going to come in at best second
Right.
in the
Oh
West.
yeah, that's what we're talking about. Who's going to come in second? So
Okay, but second in the West might not be a playoff spot.
yeah, well, yeah, yeah, no, second in any division might not be a plus. The AFC is just loaded.
Okay, but like the AFC West is especially because if we're not talking, okay, the Chiefs are making it right, and it's the Raiders and the Chargers because I feel like Peyton's just fucking up the Broncos more than they need to be, just because he doesn't like Russell Wilson, which is just a whole nether can of worms. I mean, you are going to wait till he gets fired to bitch about because I don't see him lasting that long. You don't have Drew Brees, we get it, but you hating on the guy that the team gave up all these picks for to try to prove that he's not good when the players started saying otherwise and you sat him for monetary reasons, clusterfuck is all I'm going to say. So they're neither one are going to be the worst team in the West. That's the Broncos. Neither one of them are going to be the best team in the West. That's the Chiefs. So are they better than the Bengals or the Ravens or the Steelers?
Well, again, the problem is when it comes to the AFC, your schedule is going to matter, your record's going to matter. It's not about who's better; it's about who could take advantage of who I didn't have to play.
Bold
Right?
prediction. This time next year, either Harbaugh will be on the hot seat or there'll be some narrative about the Chargers trading Herbert for a King's ransom and picks to get some insert the quarterback here, right? And all these picks. And that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I honestly I wouldn't doubt that. There's been some rumors about trading Herbert this off season. To be honest with you, and unless they're like 2-15, I doubt Harbaugh is going to be on the hot seat. Like if they have a decent year, he's not going to be on the hot seat. So we'll see. All right. Speaking of coaches, we know we're good. End of an era and Bill Belichick in New England. Pete Carroll in Seattle. Nick Saban in Alabama. It's just like damn, you know what I mean? Like we woke up one day and it just seems like, hey, do you want your childhood ripped apart? Here you go. Saban's gone, Belichick's gone, Pete Carroll's gone. And like I said here, even though two of the three of them make me happy because fuck Alabama and fuck the Patriots, I do feel old. I do feel old that these guys are gone. Um, Bill Belichick, Nick
Good that
Saban,
you said.
like to be honest with you, there's no point even talking about them. Like they're the goats. Like that's
I'm
just what
trying
it
to
is.
pull up it's not coming up. But anyway, the amount of talent that came out of Saban's Alabama is all time.
All time. Yeah.
I got it. Here are the running backs:
Hmm.
Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, Jameer Gibbs, Mark Ingram, Eddie Lacy, Trent Richardson. And just for the sake of argument, there's an argument to be made that Trent Richardson was the best Bama running back out of those names.
Yeah. Hmm.
Then at wide receiver, you have Julio Jones,
Hmm.
Amari Cooper,
Hmm.
Devonta Smith,
Hmm.
Jalen Waddle,
Hmm.
Jerry Jeudy,
Hmm.
Calvin Ridley. Again, Jerry Jeudy, if you want to say he's the weakest link of the pros, arguably the best that was at Bama out of these guys.
Yeah.
Arguably, because these are all great players in college. The defense. The defense. Mika Fitzpatrick, Patrick Surtain the second,
Jersey.
Trevon Diggs,
Well, Minka's Jersey. Jersey.
Marlon Humphrey, Quentin Williams, Will Anderson Jr., and Donta Hightower. That is a contending defense in the NFL. Like, I'm not saying, and to be clear, these guys did not all play at the same time. A lot of them did, but they all didn't play together at the same time. But the idea, like you've got everybody, if you're listening to us, I know y'all seen the photo of the wide receiver cores some of these guys had. That would be the best in the NFL today.
That's not, and they didn't even do the offensive line because there's some NFL offensive linemen in there
Oh
as
no,
well.
I just didn't screenshot the offensive line because like I screenshotted the positions that I remember being like I was fans of these guys in real time, right?
Mm.
And AJ McCarron, shout out, he's one of my favorite college quarterbacks because he was the quarterback with the team with Trent Richardson, with these Bama teams that were the last great air quotes, boring type of football teams. They were three downs and a cloud of dust type of teams. They ran hard, they beat you up. It wasn't always the most exciting football, but it was the best football. And I feel like Saban is getting rightfully a lot of criticism that he's choosing to leave now when the playing field's a little more even. But that doesn't change the fact that he was the best, and we can say a whole bunch of reasons why he might have been the best. But that doesn't take away from his accomplishments at the end of the day. You got to give this man his flowers. Alabama, its attraction for these players was football. So, like, yeah, we could say, well, Saban is starting 10 paces in front of everybody. He has this Alabama name. He remade the Alabama name. Mm-hmm. He came back to Bama and made it a dynasty, like for the first time in our lifetimes, correct? Like it was big decades ago, but these kids that are younger than me and Brett, they didn't give a shit about that. So they're going there for Saban. So we can make the jokes that like, oh, NIL got you sweating. Cool. That's cool. Those are fair games.
The fact that he can no longer give out Dodge Chargers, that's what got him sweating.
Hey, man, it sucks you got to pay your pro team now, doesn't it? Yeah, exactly. But Carroll out in Seattle is a little bit different because he seems like
good transition.
Wait, hold on. Before we transition, do you have do you have a Belichick slide?
No.
Okay. I don't want Belichick as my head coach in 2024.
Yeah, that's why he didn't get the Atlanta job, nor should he get the Atlanta
job. He hasn't got a, obviously, the way we're talking, he hasn't got a job yet. Watch that break news while we're recording.
Well, you know what?
Giants fan.
No, we're talking shit. Ben Johnson also just said today that he's going back to the Lions. So who knows? The Washington could get Belichick.
Oh, but as a Giants fan, we are connected to Bill Belichick.
If Belichick went to the Commanders, how would you?
I wouldn't be pissed. I wouldn't be pissed. I would not be pissed. Okay. I would have been more scared last offseason before they traded all the defensive pieces. If they had that pass rush still intact and they got Belichick, I'd flip a fucking I'd be like, mother, like who's their quarterback? It doesn't fucking matter who their quarterback is with that pass rush. You just give Belichick Chase Young and them boys, but they blew it up. So you know what? Whatever. Go to Washington. Have a grand old time trying to get those 17 wins. I don't want him on my team. I don't. Dude, a lot of people, and I'll save this point more for the Nets propaganda pod because it's more applicable to basketball, but a lot of fans have issues admitting it's just time. Belichick, you're capable of breaking that a season's worth of wins. You are the GOAT coach. But in 2024, it's been a couple years since you got results. You were the GM, you were the head coach, you called all the shots, and you ain't been in the playoffs since you lost Tom. So,
well, they were in the playoffs once, but they got destroyed.
Oh, I'm sorry. You haven't been relevant since you lost Tom.
Yeah.
And he's a great defensive mind. He's never going to become a DC anywhere. He wants more. He comes from Parcells tree. He wants to be able to pick the groceries, right? And he doesn't have the track record recently to have that power, period. Yeah. So I just feel like there's a couple Giants fans out there that are soured over Dable over still a good season, because even Giants haters like Brett looked at the job Dable did this year and said, shit, he kept them together. Like we could talk about the whole clusterfuck with the DC and his two friends, but like that locker room wasn't lost. So like I don't want to lose Dable for Bill Belichick. Like it's 2004, not 2024. But on to Pete Carroll, arguably in that Bill Belichick conversation of top tier NFL coaches of all time, he's just it's his age, because this dude was 5 years younger. He's still the head coach. I feel like this is a soft retirement because he doesn't want to leave the Seahawks organization. He's getting another job within the organization. So it seems like he kind of just said, you know what? I guess it's time. This is a good time. I think he just took a step back, realized where the franchise was at, said this would be the point where the new guy would take over, if I'm being honest with myself. And the Seahawks were like, well, we're not firing you. So here's your office. Get in there, old man. You're here forever.
Yeah, it's what. So for Pete Carroll, it's different because I put the picture up, and the question is, what is his legacy? And it's one of those weird things like, should we be judged by our biggest failure or by our biggest accomplishments? Like, he won a championship, but we will forever remember this play. And we will forever remember not just this play, but the aftermath, the fact that that team was never the same after that play. And for younger kids, let me remind you, before Pete Carroll even got here, he was a legendary coach at USC. The last time USC was good was when he was the coach, when they had Reggie Bush and them boys going to the national championship every year, winning Heisman's and all that stuff. So it's one of those weird things that he's had a legendary career, and yet this play will probably be forever be the thing that we think of him for. Like, should that be a thing?
I mean, it is a thing, but at the same time, if you hold that more than the win with the legendary Legion of Boom defense, right? It's kind of it's not fair because at the end of the day, Pete Carroll has owned that moment since it's happened. He talks about it. He explains his thought process through it. He owns what happens afterwards. Like me and you saw the video that came out within the last year or so of him doing the interview and just talking about like, no, man, it wasn't about Marshawn. I'm sorry he took it that way. I'm sorry he still feels like that. Like, this is my thought process. We were doing this in this order all season. People didn't catch on to it, so we kept doing it. It was something that just made sense in a football sense. I know that's overused and it's a cliche at this point, but his reasoning really was just it was a football decision. At the end of the day, was it bad? Sure, but okay, so he got out coached by the GOAT. Like, he lost to Bill Belichick. He didn't lose. Like, the irony of the Eagles Super Bowl, right, was if the Eagles did that to like the Bengals or something, then that coach's legacy is ruined. But they did it to the GOAT. You out coached the GOAT. Everyone's like, oh wow, you did a great job. Bill Belichick beat you in the Super Bowl. There ain't no shame in your game, dude. Like, the 23 to 3 meme is a meme, sure. You know what I mean? Like, but like, it's still the Patriots. Like, you still lost to the Pats. Like, there's still something to that. Do we hold great coaches for how
I
there's a
think it's
team?
one. I think it's one of those. I will never forget this. Not only did you not run the ball, but Bill Belichick messed up. Well, I guess he technically didn't mess up because he knew what they were doing. But Bill Belichick notoriously didn't call a timeout when he had one, and everybody's like, "Why is he not calling the timeout?" Well, now we know because he knew that they're about to run that play, so he knew that, hey, once we intercept this, we don't want any time left on the clock. So it was one of those weird things where,
It should have been a run. Like, it should
yeah,
have
it
been a
should have
run
just been a run.
because the same reason you were irrationally mad about the Lions clause, same thing. Like, you stuck to your game plan that got you there, and there's that train of thought for that, right? Like that is a valid train of thought because if they win that, he's a genius. But because you didn't change it up situationally and it didn't go your favor, now you're a dumbass. And that's just how sports work. It's a gamble anyway. You're trying to guess what the other guy's guessing. So you're trying to outthink the dude that's trying to outthink you. Sometimes you overthink it. And so you don't run the play that got you there. And I'm just, and mind you, I didn't rewatch it before this, but if it's to the point where his story hasn't changed, his thought process never changed, he constantly says the same thing about why he ran the play. Bill Belichick obviously saw the same thing throughout the season, enough to prepare for that moment in that moment because he knew you were going to run that slant. It's football. That's okay. So that worked so much that it's in the clutch moment of the Super Bowl, they ran that play. I still think you handed off to beast mode. I'm not arguing that, everybody. I'm just saying we can shit on it all we want, but it wasn't. A lot of maliciousness has been put on that decision about quarterbacks, about Marshawn, about what type of man they are, and all this other shit. And from Pete Carroll's point of view, that hasn't changed. Nothing to do with that. From the play calling of the Patriots, nothing to do with that. So I feel like in regards to his legacy, it shouldn't be the biggest moment. It was a catalytic moment. It was the catalyst for all this change in the organization. Sure, they would be back-to-back champions, but I think even if they win that moment, that team's still breaking up. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, they still break up. Like, they weren't paying everybody, they weren't keeping everybody. The issues with Russell seems a lot deeper than that interception. Just keeping it real. Like,
Yeah,
there's
but
a
I
lot of
think
people
but I
that
think it but I think it starts with that interception though. So
I think it starts before the interception because everything about Russell Wilson seems like he was trying to prove he was that franchise quarterback. that year because he didn't get enough credit for the win. So you know what I mean? Like we can. It's easier for us to point to this moment, but there are a lot of different human beings and personalities at play in this moment.
Yeah, and that's what sports is about. Yeah, I guess my thing is, the question is, should we be judged? I guess it depends on the failure, right? Like R. Kelly should be the GOAT R&B person, but you know what? He did he did one little thing that was bad, and it's like, yeah, but that's a pretty big thing. It's a pretty
I
big
don't
thing.
know. No, no, that's terrible. Number one, he's not the goat. Number two, he did way more than one thing.
He
Number
was
three, that is one of your worst analogies of all time. Like
no, it's not.
that is a terrible
Hold on,
analogy.
talking about. R. Kelly was so good that we knew he was doing messed up stuff, and we didn't even care. We said, you know what, these songs are so amazing. We're gonna step
Next
back.
subject. Next subject. Next subject.
I'm just saying. And
Next
then we
subject.
found out, and then
Next
we found
subject. For the
we
love
were
of
doing
God.
more stuff. And then it was like, okay, well, you know
Oh,
what,
why is this still
Robert,
mute
you're done.
yourself? Mute yourself. I'm not entertaining this. Ugh.
We said we can't do this
Next,
anymore.
next, next. Just we need a yeah, Brett's Titanic mistake.
You're done, Robert. You done stepped too many
Anyway,
times.
the Titans did something, and they got rid of Mike Vrabel, which he hasn't gotten signed, has he?
No, he done. No, he didn't.
And let's give the Patriots some props because we love calling out systemic racism in the NFL. And shout out to the Pats for doing the complete opposite for once. And not only do they have their handpicked guy, but I think to like 95% of people, there probably are enough Patriots fans that were like, no, this should be the pick. I'm not going to take that away from the diehard Patriot fans that might have saw this coming. But the 99.9.99% rest of us did not see that coming. So the fact that he retired and then the owner was like, guess who we got? And holy shit, not only is it a Patriot, because we all figured it would be a Patriot, but like, let's keep it a buck. It's a black dude. Like
Hey, listen, but here's another thing. The cynic in me and the cynic in a lot of people say, well, yes, give it to the black guy right after Bill Belichick because you want that guy. You want the buffer, basically. You don't want to be the
I know, but for the moment, let's just pretend he's gonna break Bill's records. You know what I mean? Like, let's just have the
oh,
moment.
I'm rooting for fuck the
I'm
Patriots
not
fan.
rooting for him. Fuck the
Yeah,
Patriots.
yeah,
I'm just saying, like, hey, we got to keep. Yeah, hey, he's black. We're not Patriots fans. like, oh, we got a black guy. Okay, woohoo! Fuck the Patriots.
my brother's been calling me a fraud all weekend because I wasn't rooting for Lamar. I'm like, bro, he played for the Ravens. What do you want? Like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, what do you want me to do? The Steelers over the culture. I said, bro, we've had black quarterbacks before. Like, he's not the first. He's not going to be the last. Like, I'm confused. like, uh,
We've had multiple black quarterbacks win the Super Bowl like in the last 10
right.
years.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, this isn't like historic. Like
No, your brother is number one. He's too Gen Z, and number three, like lay off the weed, bro. Like what? This is for civil rights. What's this for?
I get it. He's a black quarterback in Baltimore. I get
He's
it.
doing it for the culture. Who? Like I'm not a Baltimore fan. Like
Right. I'm like, he's like, this is my arch rival you're talking about.
I
Like,
remember I was at a bar and someone said I wasn't really black because I didn't like the Cowboys in the '90s, and I was like, number one, I was 7 when they won. And I actually had a Emmett Smith jersey because my mom got me clothes, and number two, like what? like, like I know like the joke is all black people are either Raiders or Cowboys fans. Like we exist in foot on the football internet too, but like come on.
yeah,
Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, we were talking about Mayo, Vrabel. Oh wait, no, Mayo's the coach. Vrabel is a good coach. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten hired yet. Has he gotten hired yet?
no, but Washington's still out there. Seattle's still out
You're
there.
just throwing Washington out there. Listen, bro, I'm not worried about Washington. Whoever Washington hires,
No, I'm just saying those are the two jobs left: Washington and Seattle.
I could see him in Seattle.
I could see him in Seattle.
Actually, Seattle might be a good fit.
I could see. To be honest with you, I don't think anybody wants the Washington job. Like I think that's part of it. I think with Washington, It's like we don't know what this is yet. There's still going to be a lot of turmoil going on with
Why did the
Washington.
Titans do this? I'm sorry to cut you off, but like I'm really trying to think of a reason besides like, okay, you didn't get the next step forward. But at the same
No,
time,
so basically what we're hearing is conflict of interest. Like he's trying to win now, they're trying to like rebuild. And the last 2 years, they've been kind of like half in, half out. And it's like I think it was just time. It was one of those things like, you know what, you're right.
yeah, they don't have a win now team.
Yeah, they don't have a win now team, but but like but then you signed DeAndre Hopkins and you make some other moves that kind of don't make sense for your timeline. So like I think it was just more. I think it was literally just that. Like, hey, you know what? We really want to rebuild. You want to win, and we get that. So you should go somewhere else where you have a chance to win because it's
I
not.
shouldn't say that they're not a win now team because we didn't think the Lions were a win now team, and we changed the narrative on the Lions just in the last couple of weeks. But I just don't see the Titans' path in the AFC as currently constructed, even with Vrabel or not. Just because, besides the Texans coming out of nowhere, because I'm not going to act like either me or you thought they would be winning the division, but like I know hating on Trevor Lawrence is like the thing to do in that division, but like he's still there. The Colts are still there, and there's not a big difference between the floor for those three teams. And that's just that division. Again, that's not the West. That's not the East. That's not the North. You know what I mean? That's just
Yeah,
that
it's
division.
yeah, it's the Titan. But I think the Titans are playing this smart. They're like, look, we're not close. This is a loaded AFC. Now is probably the time to tank, right? Let all those other teams fight just to make the playoffs while we get the scraps and we pick in the top five every year. That might be what would help us turn this thing around quickly. They just saw it with Houston, right? They literally just saw that with Houston. Like, yo, Houston was bad for like 3 years and now they're great. That's what we need to do. That's
I
what
mean,
we need to do.
Houston got good way faster than anyone predicted. Like
Yeah.
me and you make jokes about Ohio State quarterbacks, and that's out the window at least at the moment. Like, because dude looks
Yeah.
for real.
So I don't know. Vrabel, I think Vrabel will be fine. If he doesn't get hired this cycle, I think by next cycle he will get hired. It's just a matter of what the job situation. Again, I think the problem is this job cycle, there was a lot of great head coaching candidates and not a lot of great jobs. I think the Panthers and Washington job are two jobs nobody wanted, to be fair.
Well, especially if you don't want like Vrabel's problem is he wants to be a win now coach, and he proved he can win now. Like, don't get me wrong, making the playoffs in the NFL, props, dude. Like, no one thought you were going to make it. Not only did you make it, you looked way more dominant than anyone expected. So there is a level of respect for that, and I'm not taking that away. But if you want to be a win now coach and the NFL isn't there, guess what? You're going to Canada or you're going to college because like like
Yeah, I mean, again, I think Seattle makes sense because I think they're in that same category where they're like kind of half in, half out
well, no,
with
I
him.
think he should go to
They might
Seattle.
go
But I'm
all
saying like
in.
if
But
Seattle
yeah,
isn't Seattle
I
isn't
think the NFC makes more sense because right now you're not going to win in the AFC unless you have a superstar at quarterback. You're just not going to win.
but okay, yeah, he would be. I feel well again. I really do feel like he's a good fit in Seattle. I feel like he's the vibe of that culture in a good way because I don't think
I
him.
no funny shit. I think he would be great in Washington. I just think people are looking at that Washington situation and it's a wait and see mode because I think there's still so much of Snyder stuff that still needs to be sorted out, and we still kind of don't know how
I
the
don't
new
think either
owners
team's
are going to
winning.
be.
But I don't
So,
think I think for Rabel, right? He didn't want to rebuild where he already had the cachet to stay and go through a rebuild, so he left for a win now team. And the Seahawks are going to be better than the Rams and Niners next year. Like,
but that's my point. That's my point. If he doesn't get hired this cycle, there might be a team next cycle. Because there's always that one or two teams that underachieve, right? They're not bad, but they underachieve, like the Chargers, right? Um, I'm sure if Jim Harbaugh didn't take that job, Vrabel would have been big for that job. I think
mm,
that might have been the job he was looking for, to be honest with you, because that's the team that you're probably describing, right? That team that's win now mode that at least has some type of foundation to win now. And Seattle, to be honest, Seattle to me fits that criteria, especially in the NFC. They just if you get a quarterback in the NFL, if you can get a quarterback, everything changes. If
no,
Seattle gets a
I'm not saying Seattle's bare. I'm saying Seattle. He's not Pete Carroll. Like to keep it a buck, he can be good, but like we I don't think. I'm giving both of them their credit in the sense that I think they're both good coaches, but at the same time, I don't think Vrabel is Pete Carroll. So the idea that they would switch and they'd maintain this overachieving that they've been doing, because that's what the Seahawks been doing, overachieving.
But to
I
be
just
fair,
don't.
so have the Titans though. That's what I'm saying. I've never looked at the Titans roster and thought that they were a legit contender, but they were a number one seed a couple years ago when they had Arthur Smith.
But the NFC West is a better division than the AFC South.
True, very
Period.
true.
Like period. Like the Cardinals get a lot of shit, and if Kyler Murray comes back healthy and they hypothetically make the moves they need to, they're not looking at the Seahawks like, oh shit, we got the Seahawks. You know what I mean? And so like,
No, I mean I agree. I guess my point is there's not going to be no perfect situation, but again, Seattle is just about as good as you can get. Again, besides the division, like realistically, if Seattle was in any other division in the NFC, we would probably be like, yeah, go to Seattle. What are you waiting for? The fact that they're in the NFC West is the one thing that makes you say, because I don't know. And even the Rams, like the Rams are kind of good, but not that good. They could be beat. You're really just worried about the 49ers, to be honest with you. So like I think if you went to Seattle, I think that would work.
we'll see.
All right. Speaking of coaches that overachieved, the Lions, congrats to Dan Campbell. He broke a lot of generational curses with the Lions team this year. Um, much respect to him in terms of getting them to where they were and making them respectable and everything else. With that being said, he's an idiot, and that loss is on him. I don't care what anybody says. Um,
No, I think it's funny. That was a much more tempered response than you actually had that night.
well, yeah, it's 2 days later, but yeah.
I feel like he's deservingly getting criticized for not taking the points and tying the game. Yada yada yada. I feel like that goes without saying. It's just one of those things. People make mistakes, get out coached in these situations. Dan Campbell as a coach, that like a lot of people, not Brett, a lot of people in general on my social media had this take that they'll never get back. The Lions aren't going to ever be this good again, and all like just like complete doom and gloom.
Well, I didn't say that. I'm just
No,
saying,
I'm not. I'm being serious. I'm not you. I'm saying
but you did ask a good question. I put it here. If the Lions never do get back to this opportunity again, would this season be looked at like right now? It's a success. At the end of the day, I don't care what you say. Win the game or lose the game, you got to the NFC Championship game, and you're the Detroit Lions. This year was a success
they won two playoff games, which is two more playoff games
than they've ever won.
than they've won in mine or Brett's lives.
Yeah. So at the end of the, so I think combined too. Like so, at the end of the day,
Yeah, like about their last playoff win was the last playoff win. They played it before the playoff game. Elvis had the number one song in the country.
yeah, it was in the 50s.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm saying. So at the end of the day, this season is a success despite the collapse, despite the
not
ridiculousness of
even a
it all.
collapse. They lost in the championship game. You know what I mean? Like I like calling it a collapse. Even
Nah. Well, we ain't gonna sugarcoat either. They collapsed. They
no, they didn't
completely
collapse,
folded on
dude. Like
themselves.
because like let's be real, no one had them up in the
It
championship
doesn't matter.
game.
Okay, that's fine. But you were up, and you not only did you not kick field goals when you were supposed to, you dropped easy passes on third and fourth down that were crucial. You fumbled the ball. You should have intercepted the ball, but instead it hit your face mask, and Brandon Ayuk catches it for basically going for a
But
touchdown.
that's not on coaching.
No. I'm saying the Lions as a whole collapsed. I'm just saying the
Yeah, but like,
Lions.
but I'm saying like if that's on if the L's on Campbell, then it's for the points. The other shit is just crazy football shit that it's hard to explain.
No, but that's my point. It's still all part of the collapse. So that my point is we have to call it a collapse. That I'm not gonna sugarcoat it to save Lions fans' feelings like, oh well, you shouldn't have been in the first. No. Y'all screwed up. You collapsed. But the point of the matter is it's still a successful season. Even with the collapse, even with everything going on, it's still a successful season, even though you probably should still be playing. I'm just saying. Um, like
I'm
and then
saying you can't say that the season's a failure if you're coaching. These two things are true. Both of these have to be true. That your team hasn't won a playoff game in your lifetime, and
yeah, the
you
season
want
is
if you won, you'd be playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the
Like
season is an outstanding success, no matter what. That's the
like
point I'm making.
like they should still be playing, aka they should be in the Super Bowl. Like that.
Right.
That's all I was trying to say when you were like, no, they should. I'm like, yes, you're saying it like this is the wild card weekend and they should still be playing when I don't know who before the playoffs started. I mean, when this season started, said Lions in the Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
No,
So
no,
like,
we're in a total agreement on that. I'm just saying at the end of the day, he cost them a chance to go to the Super Bowl, and he's got to live with that because
I think
you
that the
might
thing,
never get that opportunity again. There's no guarantee that they'll get that again.
no,
You know?
100%. Just like the Bengals haven't been back. I agree, but just like the Bengals, they're still they're a threat until they're not.
Right. And so here's another thing. So Dan Orlovsky made the point. This he said, why is it that we're yelling at Lamar Jackson for not doing what he does, but then we're at the same time we're yelling at Dan Campbell for literally doing what he does? And my answer is simple. It's the same answer. Time and place, situational awareness. With Lamar Jackson, we're not saying don't ever throw the football. What we're saying is Lamar Jackson, what made you special is the fact that you are a dual threat quarterback. And multiple times during that game, the Chiefs had proven they could not stop the run. So not only were y'all not running the ball enough as a football team, but then you, Lamar, were not running the ball enough as a quarterback. And I even go back to like me and my brother were watching the highlights again, the play where he threw the interception in the end zone in triple coverage, he had like three different running lanes. The Lamar Jackson of old would have taken off without even questioning it, and that would have been a big play.
Outcoached, outcoached, outcoached.
And instead, he throws it into triple coverage and it's an interception, right? So that's the difference. Whereas Dan Campbell, it's like, yo, man, I understand that this is what you have done all season. But again, you got to understand time and place. When you're up in the Super Bowl, again, to your point, we ain't supposed to be, not only are we not supposed to be here, but we're not supposed to be up. We're not supposed to be anything. You take the points. And then on top of that, once it got the second one was even more egregious because once you already squandered the lead, once you already brought them back in the game, now you're losing and you have a chance to tie it. You take the points again because at least that gives you the much needed sigh of relief. Like, all right, we're still in this. It's not over. It's a 0-0 ball game again. Let's recoup. Right? They never because they lost the lead before the third quarter even ended, they never even got a chance to regroup as a team. Kicking that field goal would have gave them that. And the fact that you went for it, knowing that your team was all over the place, to me was just stupid. That was the second one was more egregious than the first. And the funny thing is, and this is not hindsight 2020 or da 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 da. I had people at the house watching the game. They can attest to this. I was saying kick it before they even decided to go for it. I was like, no, kick it, kick it, kick it. And the funny thing is, I wasn't even paying attention to the score. I thought they were still up 17. And I was like, bro, kick it. And when they went for it and didn't get it, I said, dang, they should have kicked it. They should have kicked it. And I said, I can see you're up 17, going up 20 doesn't really do much for you, even though it does make them have to score three touchdowns instead of two touchdowns and a field goal. Okay, I guess I'd rather go up four scores than that. I see it. But then I looked at the score again. I said, wait a minute, you were only up 14? Oh my God, you really should have kicked it. What are you doing? So I didn't think they should have went for it to begin with. And then the second time they did it, I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Take the points, regroup, reset your team. You guys have done nothing that makes you think you're gonna even convert this. And and it's funny, I told you when we were texting about it in the group chat, and Dan Orlovsky said the same thing. He's like, oh, well, they did this against the Bears and the Chargers and all this other stuff, and they won those games. And what did I say in the group chat? I said, I don't care what you did in week 6 or week 13 or week whatever. This is the freaking NFC championship game. You cannot go back to what you did in a regular season and then look at the NFC championship game like, well, it worked against the Seahawks. Like, no,
Thanks,
no.
man. It's the Bourbon Bowl.
It's like it makes no freaking sense. Like it's about knowing your time and place, knowing when to do it. And same with Lamar. We're not saying don't ever throw the football, but when you have an opportunity to use your legs, which Patrick Mahomes did, which Brock Purdy did, right? When your legs can be the difference in the game, use it. Like it's about balance. We're not saying don't ever throw the ball, but you were sitting there trying to be a pocket passenger to try to prove the haters wrong. Who cares about proving the haters wrong? Win the game. Win the game. We don't
Man,
care how you win it, but win the game. like like that's the difference between us saying Lamar, yo, run, and us saying Dan Campbell, no, don't cook, don't do what you do, because what you do is, like I said before, it's a fine line between aggressive and recklessness, and they crossed it.
yeah.
They, and that's the difference. I'm all for. Honestly, I didn't even want them to go for it on fourth down. On the touchdown that they did get. Because my thing is, well, if you don't get it, the game is over. At least if you kick the field goal, you got to get the onside kick anyway. At least if you kick the field goal, at least you're still in the game. Because had they not gotten that fourth and goal, there would have been no point of an onside kick in the first place. So they were lucky they got that one. But I was like, even that one, I'm like, bro, what is this guy doing? Is he allergic to kicking a field goal? Just kick the field goal. Like, I don't get it.
Frustrating end to the best season most Lions fans have been alive for.
Yeah, it's such a line season, and I feel bad because as Nets fans, we feel that, right? Like we're one of those franchises where it just feels like no matter what we do, we just can't get right. I say it all the time. Like the reason why I hate Browns fans is because I used to feel sorry for Browns fans because I felt for Browns fans until I moved to Ohio and I realized, oh, y'all just pieces of shit. Fuck y'all. So like, fuck the Browns. Y'all deserve every misery you get. But when you're a Nets fan, when you're a Browns fan, when you're a Lions fan, there's certain franchises that just feel cursed. There's certain franchises that just feel like, yo, we're not allowed to be happy because even when everything goes right, something will go wrong.
I'm sure Bengals and Dolphins fans feel the same way.
Yeah, sure.
And
I mean,
Jags fans, like the Jags, I felt so bad for Jags fans at the end of this season because like the way they missed the playoff, like they were
don't mess with the towel.
oh
Jags
my
fans,
god, bro.
don't
They were
mess
selling
with the towel.
they were selling playoff seats already, and then they missed the playoffs.
You shouldn't have been doing that, knowing you mess with the towel. Ravens fans, I don't know why the Ravens don't get it. Y'all should have learned this lesson already. Don't mess with the towel. Myron Cope gave us a stupid little towel for us to enjoy, and y'all burn it and mess with it every time, and usually it winds up with people getting hurt. Y'all lucky that didn't even. Oh wait, Trevor Lawrence did get hurt. Never mind. Never mind.
Next topic. You're
That's
just
the that's the last topic for the on the presentation.
ah. Well, with that said,
Yeah, with that being said, don't mess with the towel. You can find me at Never For Brett Me, NEVA underscore number four BRETT underscore ME on all the socials.
okay. I was gonna because you gave your Steelers takes.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead. Talk about your Giants.
I want to hear what you gotta say, dude, because like I feel like it's such a weird position. You did your mock draft, and I feel like it's quarterback or trade back. Like even if we trade back, we need to
It's
pick.
funny. Some other Giants fans hated that I did that. They want to stay there and either take a receiver or take an offensive lineman. I said, yeah. I said,
If we
but
can get Marvin, if we can get Marvin Harrison, great. You know what I mean? Take him, sure, yeah, 100%. If we can't get him, I don't like. Shut up with the wide receiver. Go for a quarterback, or get more
there's
assets.
no. Well, see, here's the thing. Outside the top three, now, so I've seen mock drafts where Jaden Daniels falls to the Falcons, and that doesn't make any sense. There's no way if you're the Giants, if Jaden Daniels is at six, you take him without question. You don't even let Roger Goodell get off the stage at five. Wait, if Jaden Daniels is at six, you should be like, hey, just stay there. Hold on. Matter of fact, we'll make the announcement for you. With the number six picks in the draft, we will take Jaden Daniels. And you do
I don't have
cartwheels.
faith. I don't have faith. I think these people, for whatever reason, are just love Daniel Jones, and I don't understand it. Um, and if we take another Carolina quarterback, I'm gonna find
Drake May won't
Brett
be there.
is.
Drake May won't be there at six.
If we take
Jaden,
Drake, I'm gonna find Brett. I'm gonna destroy his kitchen again.
J-
That's a promise. That's a fucking promise.
nah, Drake May won't be there at six. Jaden Daniels, I don't think will be there at six. I really don't. He's been a hot riser, but if he is there at six, there's no way y'all
I
pass up
would
on him.
rather move on from Daniel Jones and somehow get Justin Fields than do this whole song and dance again about, well, you just gotta see what Daniel Jones has. We just gotta, get some, and it's just like, great, okay, so we're just gonna keep doing this.
No,
So
what you guys are going to do at six, because I don't think the quarterbacks will be there. You're either going to take a wide receiver, which there will be a great either Malik Neighbors or Roma Doomsday. You should be happy with either one. Think either Stephon Diggs or Devontae Adams is there at six, or you take an offensive lineman, or you trade back. I I think like I'll put you this way. I don't think you could go wrong at six. I really don't.
We'll find a way. We will find a fucking way.
I I mean, again, unless it's an Evan Neal situation where you made the right pick and he just didn't pan out for whatever reason, like
Man, we'll do a whole podcast on the Giants draft pick since that 2011 Super Bowl because you're saying words that make sense as a sentence. I agree, but like no. Um,
I just don't.
and I'm doing this without bringing up Saquon because I figure at some point in the future we're going to talk about Saquon, and I'll just repeat everything I'd say now about Saquon Barkley. Um, it's such a weird spot to be a Giants fan right now. It is. Like, I'm not even trying to be funny. It's like I don't feel dread about the future. I just feel like, to use a Nets term that was overused about 5 years ago, it feels like a bridge year. It feels like I just know, like if we make the playoffs, cool. If we suck, yeah, you know what I mean. Like that's the frame because Dayball is good enough as a coach that I'm kind of like, but we were 3 wins away this season from making the playoffs after the worst start in franchise history. Like he kept the team together, and we were 3 wins away. Those 3 wins were the what was it? It was a field goal we missed, and there was like 2 field goals we missed, and another game we lost in overtime. And those are the 3 wins right there. Like it's not like I'm stretching the bounds of believability. I'm saying the 3 games we lost in the last 10 seconds. If we switch to those games, we're in the playoffs, and we're still the same trash Giants. Is my point. Like we're not a better team. We're just in the playoffs.
But
Which
again, that's why I think this was a good thing. Again, and we'll talk about this on the Nets pod. Like that's the difference between like the Nets. I mean the Steelers and the Giants. Where like a lot of Steelers fans are like, bro, could we have one of those seasons? Like that's really all we need. Like one season where we have a losing record, so we can get good players to fill out the roster. We're only a couple players away. But if you keep going 9-8, 10-7 every year, you're not going to get those players, right? So it's one of those. That's why I said you guys are actually in a great spot because again, either one of these quarterbacks fall to you, which I don't think will happen, but let's just say by miracle it does. So either one of those quarterbacks will fall to you, or if they don't, one of the wide receivers definitely will, or if they don't, one of the like you're literally at six. There's 3 quarterbacks we're talking about. There's 3 receivers we're talking about. So that's 6 right there. So either all of the quarterbacks and receivers are gone and you just take the best offensive lineman on the board, or one of the receivers are still there and you're going to take them. Or one of the quarterbacks are there and you can't go wrong at 6. You literally cannot go wrong.
sounds wonderful. Watch us take a tight end.
And if you do, it's Brock Bowers and he's Travis Kelce. Are you going to be mad about that?
I'm not be mad if we draft Drake May. I don't care what you tell me. I don't care what you tell me. I don't want any Carolina quarterbacks. I don't care if they're from Duke. I don't care if they're Tar Heels. I don't care if they're from Coastal Carolina. I don't want any Carolina quarterbacks. I don't care if they're from Elizabeth City, the HBCU. I don't want any Carolina quarterbacks. Not one. You can find me at Not the Chuck D on all the socials. We're at www.thedope.blog. And you can find us at _dope blog on Instagram. And fuck Twitter. So
And threads. And because you're watching this on YouTube, please like, share, and subscribe, and join us next time as we continue to discuss other people's excellence. Dan Campbell, you are excellent, but that decision making was not. Boom. Deuces.
go Chiefs. Go Taylor
Don't
Swift.
mess with the towel.
Go Taylor Swift. Kansas City Swifties.